Why must you contaminate, pollute, try to touch this? Just let the parks be.
I doubt they're even going to use them all to like drill or extract for resources. It's that these people who are in charge, what do they care about a national park? What do they care about a vacation that's not on a yacht?
It's true.
It's
a good
where
point.
They're being personally catered to. They can't imagine that these are useful to people.
Welcome back to Hysteria, the podcast that puts the joint in joint address for Congress, which is what I needed to watch to stay calm and not punch a wall in blind rage.
I'm joining you in that sentiment.
So here's another part of every joint address, State of the Union, the box. Who gets to be in the box, the First Lady's box? Do you know the history of the box, Sammy?
No. Is it happy?
It's feel good.
Okay. I'll take it.
Okay. So the tradition of inviting guests to the First Lady's box began in 1982 when Florida Air Flight 90 crashed into the icy Potomac. A federal worker, Lenny Skutnik, who worked at the Office of Management and Budget, jumped into the Potomac to save a drowning woman who had come out of the crashed flight. And as a thank you for his heroism, President Reagan invited him to watch the State of the Union from Mrs. Reagan's box.
That is very nice. I think that it's notable that it was the Reagans who started it. And I want to point to some of that messaging creativity that we are so desperately in need of, because at the time, although this is a feel-good moment and it has somewhat descended into a bit of a trolling move,
right?
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
They were smart, I guess, in 1982. They were not they weren't, just 2 years after you tried to organize your teacher's birthday party and were reprimanded for it. At that time, it was a simpler America. So I'm sure most people didn't think that he was exploiting this person.
Right. No, he was honoring him. He was an actual hero, right? It was like wonderful. So Melania, First Lady Trump, had quite a few guests with her. We could go through them all, but really, are there just some that stood out to you, or how Trump used them stood out to you?
The thing that strikes me about these is that there's something a little fetishistic about all of it. And these are all sort of deeply personal tragedies. And they all had a very clearly political angle. Something about them, and maybe it's just the way he spoke about some of these people, felt very fetishistic. He never sounds less humane to me than when he's talking about how someone was violently murdered or died. They died like a dog. And like just the way he speaks about tragedy and human life is so callous that that's what these all sort of bring up for me.
For me, all felt very spectacle. Like he kind of made a spectacle of each of these people, and instead of honoring them, there was like a sort of circus-like quality to this whole segment of his speech, where he was like almost channeling Oprah. Like, you had a tragedy and I'm going to give you something. You had a tragedy and I'm going to give you something. Like, there was a young woman who had been killed, Jocelyn Nungare. She'd been killed by 2 Venezuelan nationals who were released by immigration authorities. Okay, we get it, right? But Trump renamed a wildlife sanctuary in her honor, which is lovely. Like, I have no issue with that. But I do think that there was also, in the ways that he was honoring people, just a real through line of hypocrisy. Because it's like, okay, you're renaming a wildlife sanctuary in her daughter's name, but you're like firing all the national park workers. And there's this adorable 13-year-old boy who's like battling brain cancer, whose dreams to be a police officer, and you make him an honorary Secret Service officer, which is lovely. That is lovely. But at the same time, weeks ago, you released all of the Jan 6 rioters who had assaulted cops. So in so many of these, there felt like such a through line of hypocrisy.
Yes, it's the hypocrisy, but I think what creates the spectacle is this sense of tragedy porn. Because I'm glad you brought up the origin of this because now I'm kind of recalling other people who have been brought in the past. Usually they're brought for some act of heroism that they themselves have committed. You're holding up some exemplary form of character or sacrifice, or their child died in battle or something like that. It's not usually like someone who just had something very terrible happen to them that Trump happens to think is a salient political talking point. And so he's going to bring them to like make a point.
And then after the speech, Sami, we have the Democratic response. I was really pleased to see that Chuck Schumer picked Senator Elisa Slotkin from Michigan. What did you think of her response?
She was the right pick for what this traditionally is, for the vibe of what this traditionally is, in terms of what I think putting forth to the types of people who are watching this, who are going to be watching the Democratic response. I think she was the right person for that, for the formal response. Do I think this should have been the Democratic response in general to the State of the Union? Like, should this have been the just gestalt response? No. But and I think she said good words. She cleared the bar of not being mocked, which is important for the Democrats right now.
Recall to us Katie Britt last year.
Yes, and the Democrats are in no position to be knocked down another.
We have no room.
They said some
no room
stupid
to go.
thing.
There's no
no room to go.
No room to go.
So she definitely cleared the bar. Could it have been more vibrant? I don't know. Maybe vibrant's not the right word. Maybe like
dynamic.
I just want to feel something.
Well, I felt like there was a little low hanging fruit. Like we talk about eggs. I don't know. Could she have been at a chicken farm with farm workers? Like, could she, you know what I'm saying? Like do something a little that you can control that's not going to go haywire on you, but something that illustrates one of the many problems he didn't even talk about.
Right. This lack of creativity but then I'm like, she isn't that person who should be doing a performance. And unless the Democrats have a message and a policy and they're going to offer something, does it even work to try to pull a stunt if you get the wrong person to do the wrong stunt and it's not thought through? So I thought that it was fine.
Right.
For she played her role.
Right.
Everyone has their highest, best thing. She did that thing for herself. I don't think that, I think like under these conditions, sure.
Under these conditions, look, if the point of a response is just do no harm, mission accomplished 10 times over.
And her organizing points,
yes,
I thought were smart. Like if you don't see the organization that you need around you, I thought that was really, like telling people to start it. I thought that was really smart and interesting. And that's not usually the type of commentary that you're going to get during that. I think her background as a CIA officer gave her a lot of credibility and seriousness, which is like why I think the way she delivered it worked. Just to have substance, 4 out of 5, and talking about like how things crumble. She's seen a country crumble and a company, I'm sure. And I think that all worked. So for the people who watched it, yes. For the broader public, more work to do.
More work to do. All right. And what
about you?
I think that she's a great new generational senator. And I was glad that they picked her. I think she could run for president someday.
What's the environment in which she does that?
Not this one. I just mean in terms of a person who is thoughtful, who listens, who is not entrenched in their beliefs, who has beliefs but is not entrenched in them and therefore is an open-minded person who could build a broad coalition. She is someone who I've always kind of thought about, and she also has a pretty rich backstory. I mean, she started in the Pentagon. She's seen a lot of things. She's seen a lot more than the 24-year-olds from Doge that are just
big balls
that are just taking a machete and slashing things and then realizing they need to go get a solder to put those wires back together.
Did you see the most heartbreaking video of someone, a fired federal worker who showed up at a town, I guess it was like a town hall or a representatives meeting, saying that they were making that like these 19, 20, 21-year-olds were making federal workers justify their job's existence, like just stand up in front of them and like explain themselves to like these people who just graduated college.
And who have no idea what any of the words these people would say would even mean. Let's do a little kind of hopeful news, a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm obsessed with the Resistance Rangers. Do you know who the Resistance Rangers are?
Yes, but tell me more about them.
Okay. So over the past couple of weeks, the Trump administration has fired over 1,000 national park employees. Over the past weekend, a group called the Resistance Rangers organized 145 protests at parks all across the country to stand up against both the job cuts and the broader threats to public lands. From the Grand Canyon to Acadia in Maine, they held signs and chanted, "Public lands are not for sale," and "Down with Doge," bringing awareness to the future of parks that may become targets for resource extraction. And here's just like how far we have come in a bad way. National parks were established by Republican Ulysses S. Grant.
Wasn't that when the Republicans were different?
They were different. But in 1872, he signed legislation establishing Yellowstone, encompassing 2.2 million acres, as the nation's first national park. Funny enough, when you go deep into the internet, you find out some other things, like that Ulysses S. Grant also instituted civil service reform in the executive branch to reduce the negative effects of patronage and the spoil system.
So you see where there's an ideological mismatch between Ulysses S. Grant and the people in charge now. Here's the thing. I think this is like a great example of a creative, interesting form of resistance that, when Michelle Obama or really many people have said, there's no one coming to save you. You have to do it. If this kind of thing isn't happening everywhere all the time, nothing will change. And it's just going to become more consolidated. Like, this is all the minimum, but I love that there are creative, interesting ideas that actually move people. Like, I've had people say to me that the park rangers are like the thing that like set them over the edge in terms of like the federal workers.
Yes, these people do not make a lot of money. Like, when you think about what the parks represent to this country, they are a place largely free where you can go, or for a minimal fee, and take your family for a whole day. You can go camping. You can get air. You can get nature and beauty. And it's like, why must you tinker with this of all things? Why must you contaminate, pollute, try to touch this? Just let the parks be.
I know why. Because
drill, baby, drill.
The people who, I doubt they're even going to use them all to like drill or extract for resources. It's that these people who are in charge, what do they care about a national park? What do they care about a vacation that's not on a yacht where they're being personally catered to? They can't imagine that these are useful to people, that these mean something, that people actually care about something as simple as the beauty of a tree and the changing of the seasons. Like, they're so soulless that they do not understand that this isn't just like a bunch of trees for people. This is something. It's
life. It's how they connect. It's how people unwind. It's how they find their meaning. And it's also such a radical departure from, in the Obama administration, we went on a national parks trip every year.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I almost died. I almost died in the Grand Canyon because it was too hot for me. We went to Yellowstone. That's when Lovett dressed like a park ranger, for real. Love him. We went to Yellowstone. We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Acadia National Park in Maine. That was probably my favorite because it was temperature appropriate for someone like me.
Right.
Maine in July is it's a light jacket at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all of those things, they were just so special. And to see people enjoying them so much, it's just, I'm glad for the park rangers. I support them. I've signed any petition sent my way. And also, Sami, one thing that we just to backtrack for 2 seconds, potential government shutdown March 14th. No talk of that in the State of the Union.
Oh, that would have been a good thing for someone to bring up. Although, I don't know, I'm sort of two minds about this because of something you said. Well, not only, but largely because of something you said that I agree with last week, which is the shutdown could be a pretense to just furlough, like to permanently reduce the government. And so I think they're playing with a big risk if they don't think about it that way and try to shut the government down because it seems like what they should do kind of as an act of resistance. I don't know that that is going to be what they want given the threshold that this administration has for just never bringing any of those people back. So I'm not hyped on the government shutdown for that reason.
No, I'm not.
Silver lining.
I'm not hyped on it. I just thought it was strange that there was no mention of it, or that the State of the Union wasn't used in any way. I know I'm so retro. That the State of the Union wasn't used in any way to find a little smidgy of common ground that might help avert a government shutdown.
This is like 10 days from now.
I know.
So
it's a lifetime.
We could be out of NATO. We could be at war with Canada. Like, I don't know.
The Canadians,
give it a week.
The Canadians won't go to war with us. They'll just look so disappointed at us.
Oh, I'm Canadian.
Are you?
I'm technically Canadian. Yeah, my dad was born in Toronto because his parents were refugees after Auschwitz. So they were trying to get in here. So he was born in Toronto. He was a naturalized citizen. Okay. And and I have a passport. I'm Canadian.
Okay, well, lucky you. You better have room in your suitcase for me.
Yeah, that's why I'm so nice.
We're going to be right back with an interview with a USDA farmer impacted by Trump's policies. Hysteria is brought to you by Quince. Who doesn't love the good things in life? Even though I enjoy a little luxury, it doesn't mean I can always afford it until I discovered Quince. Quince is my go-to for luxury essentials at affordable prices. Quince offers a range of high-quality items at prices within reach, like the 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50, washable silk tops and dresses, organic cotton sweaters, and 14-karat gold jewelry. The best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. First, I just have to say, I love my Quince sweaters, but I love the washable silk because I think I look very nice in silk, but I am a woman of a certain age who gets hot flashes, and sometimes you need to be able to wash your silk. And it comes out perfectly, 10 out of 10, no comments. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. So I love my cardigan. I love it so much. It doesn't pill. This is my biggest complaint about most sweaters, especially cashmere. They pill, and you wear them once or twice, and then you have to take them to get fixed, or you just don't wear them anymore. They just look like raggedy. But mine always look fresh from the box, and that is why I love them. So give yourself the luxury you deserve with Quince. Go to quince.com/hysteriapod for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/hysteriapod to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/hysteriapod. Hysteria is brought to you by Fatty 15. Guys, have you noticed you're getting older? It doesn't matter how old you are. You're always getting older, if you're lucky. It's a good thing, right? We're glad we're getting older. But getting older comes with some aches, some pains. Maybe you're not sleeping as well. Maybe your gut's not as, modal as it used to be. Which is why I'm excited to share with you guys C15 from Fatty 15, the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. It's an incredible scientific breakthrough to support our long-term health and wellness, and you guessed it, aging and longevity. Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Van Watson discovered the benefits of C15 while working with the U.S. Navy to continually improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. I am so into that. Based on over 100 studies, We now know that C15 strengthens our cells and is a key longevity-enhancing nutrient, which helps to slow biological aging at the cellular level. In fact, when our cells don't have enough C15, they become fragile and they age faster. And when our cells age, our bodies age too. This eventually led to studies finding the first new nutritional deficiency in 75 years called cellular fragility syndrome, caused by a lack of essential fatty acid C15. As many as 1 in 3 people worldwide may have low C15 levels and cellular fragility syndrome. Do you? I'm going to find out. To help fix cellular fragility syndrome and further extend our health and longevity, a team of doctors working in collaboration with the U.S. Navy spent over a decade to develop the pure, optimized, and bioavailable C15-0 ingredient in Fatty 15. Thankfully, Fatty 15 repairs age-related damage to cells, protects them from future breakdown, and activates pathways in the body that help regulate our sleep, mood, and natural repair mechanisms that support our overall health. This functionality leads to so many other exciting benefits now and as we get older. In fact, 72% of Fatty 15 customers report seeing or feeling benefits within 16 weeks, including improved metabolic, liver, and heart health, smoother functioning joints, deeper sleep, healthier hair, skin, and nails. Now that's essential. Fatty 15 is a science-backed, award-winning, vegan, patented, 100% pure C15 supplement. It's vegan-friendly, free of flavors, fillers, allergens, or preservatives. Fatty 15 has 3 times more cellular benefits than omega-3 or fish oil. By replenishing our cells with the essential C15 nutrient, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Fatty 15 is clinically proven to raise C15-0 levels, resulting in lower cholesterol levels, healthier liver function, improved gut microbiome health, and improved red blood cell health within 3 weeks. So for me, everyone who watches this, listens to this show, knows I have a sensitive stomach, and I will definitely say that I have improved my gut biome. I can tell, and I'm grateful for it. Also, I just feel like everything just looks a little shinier. I don't mean my face, but like my hair is a little shinier. My nails are growing. Everything just feels like it's doing what it should be doing. And so I'm really grateful for that. Best of all, Fatty 15 comes in a gorgeous reusable glass bamboo jar, and refills are shipped right to your door. Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help you live healthier longer. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/hysteria and using code hysteria at checkout. After this week's State of the Union joint session, whatever you want to call it, I wanted to check in with someone whose story I'd been following. Back in January, when Trump began freezing federal grants and loans, he assured farmers that they would not be impacted. But of course, that was a lie. Farmers who received assistance from the Inflation Reduction Act were particularly harmed by the freeze. Here with me today, I have Elisa Lane, owner of the Two Boots Farm in Maryland, to tell her story. Welcome to Hysteria, Elisa.
Thank you.
Okay, so Elisa, you are a flower farm owner, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. I actually grow flowers and fruit, so pawpaws.
Wow. I wish that I lived close to you so I could do your wreath making workshop. Yes, I've been all over your website. And I actually grew up working on an anemone farm.
Oh, awesome.
So when I was following your story when you were in Washington protesting, it really struck me. So can you tell the listeners about how the past couple of months have impacted you and your farm?
For sure. The past few months have been really challenging for me and farmers across the country. Before this administration came in, I was awarded a grant to put solar on my farm. It was a USDA grant. And now I'm being told that those funds are frozen.
Good grief. That is a tough one. So what improvements were you in the process of making to your farm?
So yeah, the USDA grant is under the Inflation Reduction Act, and it is to install solar on our farm. So that we were awarded a grant for $30,000 from the USDA. So that's a contract that we have from the USDA. And because I received that contract, I went ahead and entered into a contract for $72,000 with a solar company to install solar at our farm. But now, and I've also contributed my own funds, thousands of dollars worth of my own funds for that. So here we are, and now the funds are frozen. I really think that this is a big issue. I am expected to be bound to my contract with my solar company, and therefore the USDA needs to uphold their contract with me and for farmers like me across the country.
So we've seen a lot on social media, on the news, saying that these things have been unfrozen. Is that not the case?
Right. They have unfroze some programs, but not across the board. So anything in that Inflation Reduction Act has not been unfrozen, while they say that they review, how it is under their executive order.
What do you wish more people who are listening today understood about USDA funding?
I wish that people understood that the reason that this funding exists in the first place is because our Congress and our government knows that farmers are struggling, that even before this freeze, we have been struggling to be profitable. And so the government released these funds to us in order to help us with infrastructure costs on our farms. So for me specifically, this is a solar project. And you can think about that as a climate project. But I would argue that it's actually a financial benefit for us. If we get to save money on our electric usage, that brings down our production costs. And if that brings down our production costs, we get to, in turn, put that money back into our local economy and to pay our workers a better wage. So we really hope that the USDA will release these funds soon.
So it's interesting. So a release from the USDA, a press release from the USDA had said they wanted to, quote, ensure its programs are focused on supporting farmers and ranchers, not DEIA programs or far left climate programs. But aren't a lot of quote unquote DEI and climate programs actually just straight up beneficial to farmers?
Yeah, these programs are absolutely beneficial to farmers. Not only, as I said, it's going to help me make my profitability bottom line, but also think about in the state of Maryland where I am, we currently import 40% of our energy from out of state. So 40% of that energy is coming into our state via fossil fuels. What if farmers like me were able to generate our own energy? That makes a lot of sense. That means that overall, it's going to cost everybody less money. So, and I really want people to understand that this problem is not just affecting farmers, but if farmers are getting screwed out of funds from the government, then we need to think about, do we need to take on that added debt as farmers, or do we have to close up our farms? And this is a problem for consumers across the country who are relying on our goods.
We here at Hysteria, we just like to help and we like to know what's going on. So one, I really hope you'll stay in touch and let us know what is the current state of your funds right now?
Just frozen. Yeah,
frozen.
Just frozen.
So weeks after, so for the past couple of weeks, we've been told they're not frozen. You are a real person who farms. Your funds are indeed still frozen.
Yes.
And so we hope you'll stay in touch and keep us posted on what is happening with your farm with Two Boots. But also for our listeners in the Washington, D.C. area, where can they find your flowers and fruits? Are you at any local farmers markets or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm at the Baltimore Farmers Market on Sundays. So that's in Baltimore City.
Okay.
And that market starts in April. But yeah, I sell my flowers across DC and Baltimore to florists. So some florists in the DC area are She Loves Me and Little Acre Flowers are two of the big ones that we sell to.
I have actually sent flowers from Little Acre. So
perfect.
Well, listen, you please keep in touch with us and we will link your website in our show notes so listeners know how to find you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Elisa, thank you so much for coming on today and good luck.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with Sani Petty. Hysteria is brought to you by Mosh. The older I get, guys, we're always talking about how old I'm getting. The more I find myself wanting to be more intentional about the way I live, eat, and take care of my body. The old adage, you are what you eat, rings very true to all of us in the modern day, and I'm always looking for an on-the-go protein snack that satisfies me, but now I found one that helps me live intentionally too. Mosh bars. Mosh, which you may have heard about on Shark Tank, was founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a simple mission: to create a conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. Maria's father suffered from Alzheimer's, and since then she and Patrick have dedicated themselves to finding ways to help other families dealing with this debilitating disease. Mosh joined forces with the world's top scientists and functional nutritionists to go beyond your average protein bar. With 8 delicious flavors, including a plant-based one in peanut butter and chocolate, each Mosh bar is made with ingredients that support brain health like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. And now Mosh bars come with a new look and new formulation featuring a game-changing, brain-boosting ingredient you won't find in any other bar. Mosh is now the first and only food brand boosted with Cognizin, a premium nootropic that supplies the brain with a patented form of acetylcholine. But here's the best part to make you feel good. Mosh donates a portion of all proceeds from your order to fund gender-based brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Why gender-based? 2/3 of all Alzheimer's patients are women. Mosh is working closely to close the gap between women and men's health research. So one, look, turned 49 last week. Brain fog has been a thing. And a lot of weird things happen in perimenopause. You're like, I don't know. Is it brain fog from my estrogen or am I dying? So these bars to me are very, very helpful because I know it's my estrogen, but I still have brain fog and they help very much. Also, 2 of my grandparents had Alzheimer's before they passed away. So I have always been hyper aware of my brain and wanting to do the absolute best for my brain. Also, they're delicious. I love the blueberry flavor. They are tasty. They are good for on the go. Also, for my gut health, I have been told to be eating smaller meals throughout the day. And so these bars play a critical role in my post-hysteria snack time. If you want to find ways to give back to others and fuel your body and your brain, Mosh bars are the perfect choice for you. Head to moshlife.com/hysteria to save 20% off plus free shipping on the Bestsellers trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on the Bestsellers trial pack at moshlife.com/hysteria. Thank you, Mosh, for sponsoring this episode. Hysteria is brought to you by Helix. If you guys have gotten to this part of the episode and don't realize I'm getting old, well, we're just going to drive the point home. So part of getting older, especially if you're a woman, I don't know if it happens to men because I'm not one, my sleep is terrible. I have terrible, terrible sleep. I am hot. I get so hot when I sleep. Sometimes you just need to keep extra pillows so that you can swap your hot, sticky pillow out when you wake up in the middle of the night so you have any chance of going back to sleep. Not only that, but I've developed some sort of acid reflux thing, which requires me to sleep with my head lifted up so that I can actually, fall asleep. But the funny thing about it is my Helix bed helps with all of those things. So many things. Because the problem was when I was propping myself up on my old bed so that I didn't have acid reflux, I was getting all sorts of shoulder problems. Not so anymore. Nope, not with my Helix mattress. We got our Helix mattress to solve a bunch of issues, and most of them are solved, and I really couldn't be happier. My sleep is so much better. The quality of the products is so good. My pillows keep my head supported, but don't give me like cramps in my neck, and the Midnight Luxe Helix is so wonderful because it's not too firm, but it's not too soft, so it's perfect. You know who loves it? The cats. The cats love it because we have a new sleep routine where we try to wind down at 8 o'clock and we get in bed and we watch The West Wing on our iPad, all of us together on the Helix, cozy like snugs, bugs in a rugs. And one other thing that's great, I don't snore that much anymore. My husband, who is a king, never really told me that I was a snorer, but I guess it got kind of bad a while back and he'd be like, you snore, but really not snoring as badly anymore. It's not gone, but progress is all that we can hope for. Go to helixsleep.com/hysteria for 20% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/hysteria for 20% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/hysteria. Welcome back to Hysteria, the podcast for women who have nothing left to say this week. Now, let's get to Sani Petty. Okay, Sammy. Are you feeling Sani? Are you feeling petty? Are you feeling a little bit of both? What's on your mind?
A wintry mix of both.
Okay.
I have 2 petties and 1 Sani. So I guess, but one of the petties, I think, you'll be right on board with, which is JD Vance going skiing and the reception he received in Vermont?
Yes, ma'am. And I have a little tag along to that, so please go ahead.
Okay, good. It really was refreshing to me to see the whole town of Sugar Bush, Vermont come out with signs. Again, creativity. A+ for creativity and A+ for effort, because not every day do you get a shitty vice president to come visit your East Coast ski resort and you get the chance to troll him at every turn. Like, I don't think that he got through. Did he get through any, based on what it seemed like online? Like, he didn't have a minute of peace. Like Sarah Huckabee Sanders at the Red Hen for 8 hours straight.
What was he thinking? Sammy, if he wanted to go skiing, by all means,
you should have gone to Wyoming.
Go skiing. Why did you pick Vermont, home of Senator Bernie Sanders, home of
and not even that good snow?
No, the powder's not been great. But like, to say, you know what, team? I think we're gonna go to Vermont this weekend. But to add to that story, a little local hero, Lucy Welch. Lucy Welch is in charge of sending out her daily report about powder and conditions on the mountain.
Oh, I saw this.
Yes, everyone listens to Lucy. She's the Sugar Bush snow reporter. And you know what? She had some things to say in her snow report. And she knew she might face consequences, but I'm just going to do a real quick little dramatic reading, a snippet from what she said. Quote, "This fresh forest air is, more specifically, fresh national forest air. Sugar Bush operates on 1,745 acres of the Green Mountain National Forest. Right now, national forest lands and national parks are under direct attack by the current administration, who is swiftly terminating the positions of dedicated employees who devote their lives to protecting the land we love and to protecting us while we are enjoying that land. Burlington, Vermont is one of the fastest warming cities in the country, and Vermont is the 9th fastest warming state." She had several paragraphs, which were incredibly charming, and told people—
It was very long.
It was very long, but she said her piece. And you know what? It's a little form of resistance, and you know what? Good for her. And I hope we will be keeping our eyes on her to make sure nothing bad happens to Lucy Welch.
This is what I mean. Creativity. Just take your shot when the chance comes.
Are you like Lin-Manuel right now? Like, you got to shoot your shot.
Oh, not throwing away my shot.
Not throwing away your shot.
I didn't mean to, but just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry. I'm not throwing away my shot. That's like the only words to the whole of Hamilton that I actually know. So that worked out.
What else were you feeling sandy about, or petty?
Petty about Adrien Brody's Oscar speech.
What was his speech? I didn't listen.
It was like 6 minutes of self-aggrandizement and talking about how he has struggled so hard. Oh, right before he went on stage, he turns and he threw his gum back at his wife to catch.
What?
He caught it. Right. Like,
that's when you swallow your gum.
Or put it in the side of your— figure it out.
Put it in your pocket.
Whatever. Like, I don't care. So he starts getting played off, like with the music in the middle at like 3 minutes, 30 seconds ish. And he's like, "I've been here before. This ain't my first rodeo. Turn that off." And they still let him keep going for another 3 or so minutes. And I just think that we need to put this man back in the box for as many years as it's been since he last won his Oscar. Oh, and Caroline is texting us that his girlfriend / wife,
Georgina Chapman,
Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife, Georgina Chapman.
Yes.
Also the founder of Marquesa.
Yes.
So, yeah, she takes shit that maybe she should think about. I'd be like, if my husband ever fucking threw his gum at me.
Ever. In what universe?
In any situation.
It would
let alone
never
on
happen.
a nationally televised broadcast. Yeah, that's disgusting. He would just swallow it. Like,
just swallow it, okay? It'll take 7 years to digest, but it's the one time you're doing it, so just stop.
Yeah, wait 7 more years. So I was unhappy with that, and I think everyone who didn't see the speech should know how bad it was and how uncomfortable it was, and how if it were anyone but a white man, they would have been played off. And embarrassed. Like, they would have been a story. Yes, it would have been a story, and they would have never done it. He was also like thinking people to thank, and he like then he's like, oh, the guy that the Brutalist is based off of.
Oh, thank you.
Like, oh, thanks to you too. Thanks God. Like
that's okay. You know what that is? I can't believe I missed that. Yes, I can because I fell asleep at like 9:30.
I also didn't watch it. I watched a clip of it after. People were like, I saw a few comments about how painful it was, but not enough.
So you had to watch the whole
And
thing.
so I was like, okay, I need to watch. You don't need to make this speech as long as the movie, sir.
Well, it was like when you and I were talking last Friday night about how bad the Zelensky-Trump meeting in the Oval Office was, and I couldn't take people's words for it, and I watched all 49 minutes. Never get that. I'll never get that back.
It's good that you digested that piece of history.
Well, yeah, I did. All right, but I'm feeling I have a Sani, and it is if I pass on just a little bit of peace to people, that's all I'm here for today. Kate Hudson has a new show on Netflix.
Yeah.
Called Running Point, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It is a fucking delight.
It is?
It is a delight. It is everything you need in a television show right now. Like, look, we're loving White Lotus, right? But White Lotus is a little stressful. It's a little dark. You never know exactly what's going to happen, right?
It's also like extremely pleasurable homework.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
By the way, we are recapping the White Lotus
next week.
on next Monday.
Yes.
So everyone, it's going to be out on Monday. Get ready for it on Betches.
We are going to recap, but the Kate Hudson show is just charming. She ends up taking over her family's basketball team. She's a basketball team owner, and it marries all of the best. You know, it's got like there's a little Penny Lane from Almost Famous. There's a little Andy Anderson from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I sat there. It was one of those shows. I was like, oh my God, I already got to episode 3. I need to stop this right now or it's going to go by too fast. Because I just thought it's funny. It's funny. It's not stupid. It's not mindless. You know, it's a totally enjoyable show with like a little bit of fashion, which was nice.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that when Netflix hits like a glossy girl show.
Yeah. And I found it because I had to detox from another show I had watched, which was very good, but very dark.
Was it 0 Day?
It was.
I know.
Did you watch 0 Day?
I watched the first 3 episodes and then I got distracted. And,
it's really good, but in the year of our Lord 2025, I needed to space out the episodes.
Yeah. Well, what I got distracted by was my Sani. And I actually told you about my Sani. I was reading a book this weekend.
Which I
that
ordered.
Took me out of the world. Oh, you did?
I have it.
Great.
Yes, I have it.
Okay, so this took me out
Tell
of the world.
listeners the name of the book because you recommend it so highly.
The name is A Season in Purgatory by Dominic Dunn. It's not a new book.
Right.
I think
Doesn't
old
matter.
books are, yeah. And basically Dominic Dunn he was like a journalist, novelist, and he did like crime stories. And they were always like based on true stories and things kind of like that Ryan Murphy would turn into shows. So this book is based on the Kennedy family, particularly a real life convicted and overturned murder by RFK's cousin, Michael Skakel, which happened in the 80s. And the book is based on, it's not like 100, it's not totally faithful to that story, but it kind of combines the Kennedy personas. And it was so good. It's like one of those that like burrows into your brain. I think Dominic Dunn's books tend to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
In general. The Two Mrs. Grenvilles, also amazing. I highly recommend it if you want to like escape, but also feel like if you don't feel like you can fully leave the world of the news and, this is in it, but adjacent, but also not stressful.
Yes, it's perfect.
And genuinely enjoyable.
You
so I
sold it to me
it.
so hard. I actually got it last night. It came in the mail.
It sells itself.
Wow, and you sold it
I just
pretty
told
well.
you what it's about.
I know. So I'm excited. All right, so we're going to read a book. We're going to watch Kate Hudson own a basketball team. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Sami, for guest hosting. And listeners, we'll be back next week with an all-new episode. Have a great week.